Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we have the pleasure to have a Cambodian personality who have migrated to New Zealand for a long time. His name is Mr. Farib. He is quite a personality in the area of regional issue, in the area of I would say the regional integration, and I'm just happy that he's in town to do some research, and I asked him to come and discuss with us a bit about issue pertaining to regionalization, you know, Asia Pacific, and where do Cambodia fit. So Farib, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Siphana, and thank you for having me.
Yes.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my thought with you.
Well, maybe before we start our dialogue, perhaps you should share a bit about your background a bit, when you left Cambodia, you know, and you know, that sort of thing, you know, for the audience.
Okay. Siphana, I left Cambodia in 7 May 1972. I went to New Zealand.
That's a long time ago.
A long time ago, yes. Under the Colombo Plan scholarship, and I supposed to return back to Cambodia in 1975, but you know, the tragedies or the incidents occurred there, precluding from returning.
Yeah.
But over time, I've been involved with, I guess, doing scientific work and work in the scientific field.
Yes.
I work in the health field.
Yes.
I work in the educational field. I work in the business field, and I become more interested in world affairs and international relations. And thereby, I sort of have 15 years ago, I set up an entity called Asia Forum in New Zealand. It's very much an opportunity for like-minded people from different backgrounds, whether economists, whether politicians, whether diplomats, whether business people or academics, to share their thought about economic issue, about regional integrations, about Asia at large. I think, as you know, that New Zealand is far away, you know, from the rest of Asia. I think I remember the former Prime Minister of New Zealand said that New Zealand is the last bus stop on the planet.
On the planet.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know, Farib, I think in about 8 or 9 more months, it will be exactly 40 years that you left Cambodia.
Yes.
I think you spent a lot of time abroad, and I was glad that you told me that last year you were given sort of like an award recognition by Queen Elizabeth. What is that honor?
I was given an honor in relation to my work on international relations. I'm first and foremost, I'm the chairperson of the Volunteer Service Abroad in New Zealand. I'm involved with the ASEAN Business Council. I'm perhaps the founder of the Asia Forum itself, and involved with numerous activities, mainly charitable organizations.
And the order is what do you call that?
The New Zealand member of the member of the New Zealand Order of Merit.
Interesting. Well, it's quite an honor. A Cambodian migrate to New Zealand and then been given the highest honor by the Queen Elizabeth, part of the Commonwealth. So it's quite interesting. Speaking of Asia Forum, it is a track tour.
Yes, it is very much.
Please explain a bit, because it's track 1, track 2. A lot of people don't. We talk a lot about track 1, track 2, track 1.5.
I guess sort of, I'm saying that almost like it's not official, but sort of unofficial talking, sharing each other about the gut feeling about issues.
Yes.
The idea is we're not here to toe the official lines of any government or of any entities.
Yes.
We virtually try to look at the grassroots of the issues.
Yes, yes.
And hopefully that will fit into this track one.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And there's a lot of people that outside there, they don't have the input or contribution to make on track one. So hopefully that
track one is the official government line. Track two is more the dialogue.
NGOs.
Yes, the academic.
Yes.
The private sector.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we work on very much on Chatham House rule, Siphana.
Yes,
that, the gut feeling.
Yes.
So that there's no repercussion. No one sort of quoted us and said,
yes, yes.
Such and such say this and say that, and they form, and then they may get themselves into trouble.
Yes.
And there are things that people would not be able to express his or her opinions publicly.
Yes.
But they know that inside they may not agree or disagree with the official line.
Farib, 15 years in Asia Forum, you probably have host and chair many high-level track two dialogue or exchange. Right? Something like we're doing now.
Yes.
What is your view of the trend, the concern, as affecting the region?
Looking from the distance, my understanding that two issues that come to my mind. That first of all is a regional security issue.
Okay.
Secondly, about regional trade integration.
Okay.
The first one is about stability of the region.
Yes.
As you know, what's it like if this region is not stable? The effect, the consequences on the region and to the world is tremendous.
Yes.
The second area of emphasis is we'd like to see sort of open market, access to markets, free flow of trades.
Yes.
And that is a challenge of many countries in Asia, and
particularly the smaller one, no?
Especially the smaller one, yes.
Yeah.
We in New Zealand, we're a small country, and we are very much, believe it or not, we are a trading nation.
Yes.
And we like to have access to the market.
And that's why, speaking of access to the market, I find that New Zealand, being a small country, they enter into a lot of bilateral free trade agreement with many countries, including China.
Well, I guess first of all, I think we are the first country to sign the free trade agreement with China, and we are proud of that.
Yes.
And we hope that that will stimulate all the nations and all the countries in Asia and around the world to start to negotiate with us. I feel that as a trading nation, we need to trade with everyone. We have to have access to every market as much as we can. We don't want to put all eggs in one basket. We want options.
But you know, as a small nation, to go different direction, to negotiate bilateral free trade, multilateral free trade, do you have a lot of resources to do that? I'm pretty sure you have more than Cambodia, for sure.
I'm very concerned about that, Siphana. I'm very concerned about that. Say, for instance, if China going to order of all our products, I'm concerned that do we have the capacity to provide to that market alone? And secondly, when you go and negotiate free trade with all nations around the world, the question of resources, the official resources to negotiate with this free trade, and the next thing, will the business community will come along to implement this agreement. There's no point to have agreement for the sake of agreement unless you make use of the agreement.
Yeah.
I guess your point is very clear to me that we need to be focused, we need to be target in terms of the market that we like to
I really want to relate this to the Cambodian experience here, is that yes, we sign on as part of ASEAN, of course. I think we have not done a lot of work in terms of pushing bilateral arrangement, perhaps logically because we don't have the resource. So we use a lot the regional mechanism, in this case ASEAN, as a grouping, because we're already a member, to work with other ASEAN-China free trade, ASEAN-New Zealand, Australia-New Zealand free trade. But I can, relate to the fact that the real actor, which is the trader, the businessman, the industrialist, the Cambodian entrepreneur, do not know enough about what the official have negotiated. So in other words, the challenge is how can we translate all this agreement, this treaty, this convention that carry tremendous business market opportunity into a simple, understandable, implementable knowledge base for the trader. And this is something that I can see the similarity between New Zealand as a small nation and worse, Cambodia as a much smaller and less developed economy. So recently, a couple weeks ago, I was appointed as the chairman of the board of the CDI, which is the Cambodian Development Resource Institute, the premier research institute in Cambodia. And my first board meeting was to say, look, we need to help translate what the government have negotiated into something that the private sector, the Cambodian private sector, can understand the rule of origin, the market access, the business opportunity. And these are something that we as a small nation, we should be looking for. I mentioned China. How do you view China? How does New Zealand or the Asia Pacific as a whole view China?
I guess given China is economic growth in recent years, it is non-stoppable.
Yes.
The challenge for many nations around the world is how to optimize the relationship with China, how to be partners, how to collaborate with China. I think that's look through the recipe of win-win.
Yes, a win-win.
That look for the benefits, the positive of China growth. And how would you optimize that growth so that you too can benefit? Don't perceive it as a threat. Don't perceive it as a threat.
Ah, great. To me, it's clear. I mean, we are living, not just me saying, but I think a lot of people are saying that we're living in an era of the Middle Kingdom now. I mean, and the way I see is that Cambodia is part of this Asia, sphere. It makes sense to work with the neighbor. It makes sense to work with the country in the region. And for the better if the country in the region are doing well. We saw like how do we hook a locomotive, a wagon to the locomotive. Because clearly China is the locomotive, is economic locomotive that drive the region. So as a small country, it makes sense how do you optimize it. I think I like the way you use that word, optimize, So in this sense, it's the role of this track 2 approach, this Asia forum that you're doing. It's great to stimulate that. I see also the case Cambodia that we welcome quite a bit the Chinese investment, the Chinese trade, particularly in the agricultural commodity. If we can break into the Chinese market, minus the exception that they are the SPS, the phytosanitary, condition are a little bit stringent. But once we are able to have this mutual arrangement, recognition arrangement, where we can export our cassava, we can export our corn, we can export our cashew nut to the market, it will open tremendous opportunity for a Cambodian farmer, you know, to live a better life. And to me, the challenge for a least developed country, unlike New Zealand, which is an advanced economy, for Cambodia, trade matter. Because it's one way that you can bring equitable growth. In the context of agriculture production, if we are able to secure 100,000 tons of order of cassava or rice or cashew nut, whatever it is, right? You're talking about millions of Cambodian farmers who will be better off. So I am of the opinion that we are on the same wavelengths there.
I think it's important that to work with China. It's important to just remember that if China has a problem, the world has a problem. And because we all related, our economies are interrelated and interdependent. And for that reason, I choose the word collaboration. Is the key.
Partnership.
Partnership.
Together.
You know,
win-win. That's the buzzword. You're from New Zealand. I would say you've been there almost 40 years. So I have to say something about Cambodia and New Zealand. Not prospect, but you know, there's not that many, you know, Kiwi in Cambodia. There's a lot of Aussie, a lot of Australian businessmen. They're doing quite well established. The Australian, you know, presence is quite present here. Why not much the New Zealander?
I have to be honest with you here. That,
and brutal.
Some may disagree with my analysis. I think the perceptions in New Zealand is quite a little bit different from our cousin Australian. But you know that we have the close economic relations with Australia. Very much we work together. I see that in terms of foreign policies, trade-related matter, we are working very closely. But I think that Australia is much more adventurous than New Zealand. I think economically speaking, they are bigger than New Zealand. You know, the population, the size of the market. We are only 4.3 million. And so, in terms of the resources, we are quite limited. You know, and so New Zealand a little bit conservative, and they're concerned about the stability on the market. As you know, Siphana, you sort of Western educated. You know, the concerns about the rule of law. The concern about this, perhaps the level or perhaps the extent of corrupted practices. I have no idea what it is. Okay, but that's just what I heard. And so they're a little bit hesitant to perhaps to venture into this side of the world.
Perhaps you can go back and carry the message that this Cambodia is quite confident now. The economy has been quite good. You know, I mean, minus this 2-year blip because of the economic crisis. But in its role in ASEAN, we are much more confident, we are more proactive, we are more engaging, and the market is very open. Many investors come to Cambodia because they happen to be there for tourist reason, for meeting, and then they realize, my God, I mean, it's not as what I read in the newspaper. So to me, you know, perception still matter in a lot of mind of the investor. But one major watershed event that I see will help Cambodia quite a bit, which is next year, when Cambodia will be, you know, chairing the ASEAN. This is an opportunity for Cambodia to showcase the new Cambodia. A confident Cambodia, an engaged Cambodia, a Cambodia that can play a very proactive role in the ASEAN. What do you see next year? How can Cambodia capitalize on this leadership role in ASEAN?
I think that being chair of the ASEAN is a very important role. I think Cambodia obviously need to be well organized and provide the leadership and mobilize the different roles, different perspectives, different resources, perhaps among the rest of the members of the ASEAN, to work together, mobilize the, I guess, the buy-in in terms of whatever ASEAN or Cambodia want to do. Yes. I think the leadership role here is very important. I do hope, I quite optimistic, I think, from the South Pacific perspectives. We're keen and we're ready to work with Cambodia and help Cambodia in any way we can to work the Cambodia leadership as the chairman of ASEAN. And I'm sure that I can talk about New Zealand. I'm sure that they'll be delighted to work with New Zealand, and they very positive that Cambodia is taking up this role. And I can also extend best wishes to Cambodia.
Well, Farib, I want to say thank you for coming to our show. We're coming to the end of the program, unfortunately, but I want to end the note of our dialogue on this positive note of Cambodia next year being the chair of the ASEAN meetings there. And again, this is an opportunity that we would welcome all the ASEAN brother and sister, but also the ASEAN partner.
Yes.
ASEAN plus plus plus.
Yes.
And I hope that the New Zealand delegation coming, to Cambodia will be wide open in seeing that it's not a Cambodia that they fear, that they dread, that they suspect. It's Cambodia, an open Cambodia, quite overlooking, and perhaps this is something that they could go back to New Zealand, to Wellington, and say, wait a minute, Cambodia is also a market. Bear in mind that if New Zealand is going around the world to open a market, Cambodia is a 14 million market, consumer market. You see in Phnom Penh, it's bustling, the city is bustling, franchise, business. New Zealand could bring some New Zealand famous franchise to Cambodia. New Zealand could bring some product, that it excel, manufacturing product, chemical, resin, whatever. I think 14 million, population as a market base is decent. It's not small. We're not like 6 million, like in Laos. We're decent, for 14 million. And you have a lot of agricultural background, right? In dairy and everything. Cambodia have a thriving baby booms. So all this sort of product will find its way in Cambodia. And I hope that New Zealand businessmen would come and partner with local Cambodian and help them, transform from a Cambodian entrepreneur to a Cambodian corporate. And to me, this is the challenge of the new Cambodia. How do we help our entrepreneur, young and old, to move from being just a mom and pop entrepreneur to be a corporate Cambodian? And that's where I want to end this program, that partnership matter, and we're looking forward to welcome New Zealand next year.
I want to say just one thing, Siphana, that I value you say about ASEAN plus plus, because I think we love to be included in the ASEAN. Instead of +3, we want to +5.
All right.
And so appreciate that. And I guess we are slow, but I'm sure we will be here. And,
all right.
And during the course of Cambodia chair of the ASEAN next year, I'm sure that things can be discussed behind the scene or at the open forum about New Zealand and Australia, greater involvement in Cambodia.
CER. All right. Well, good, Farib. I think on that note, I want to say again, thank you on behalf of the station and also on behalf of the audience. So, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of our program, and I really hope that you can learn something from our Farib, who's coming from far away as far as New Zealand, and come share with us his perspective on not just New Zealand with Cambodia, but New Zealand and Cambodia in the context of the larger Asian sphere of economic, of growth, of prosperity. On that note, I say good night and I see you next week.